Hi there, I'm Tom Field. I'm Senior Vice President of Editorial with Information Security Media Group. I want to welcome you to ISMG Studio. Topic of conversation is simplifying security and observability, workflow automation. I've got two guests here with me. They are Mike Nichols. He's Vice President of Product Management and Security with Elastic, joined by Matt Muller, Field CISO with Tynes. Gentlemen, thanks so much for stopping by the studio.
Oh, our pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So a lot to talk about. Together you made a recent announcement about an integrated offering. It's aimed at simplifying security and observability workflow automation. So what were the customer challenges that you needed to solve?
I mean, where to begin, right? We're talking cybersecurity here, so there's a lot of challenges, but I think two of the big things that we just see consistently across the board are everybody has too many tools and their data is just scattered across too many places. And that can often be just paralyzing for security teams, right? You take 5 different tools across, 20 different environments just to answer one simple question. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. And so we really saw that need and figured, we're probably two of the better companies to do something about it.
Yeah, I think that's the great point. I mean, culturally, just fit well together. We really kind of passionate about making the user successful. Mm-hmm. And in cybersecurity, we have very educated and mature users that could do all this on their own if they had the time. But the problem has always been the skills gap of the time. Yep. Not enough people, not enough time to solve the problem. And what automation allows us to do is to really accelerate them in their daily jobs. I mean, too many times they're locked out because, I forgot how to access this one system, or I just don't have, the copy paste errors that happen when someone tries to move an IP address and they copy over to the next system. So these automations allow us to just really speed up that mean time to remediate the challenge.
So timing is everything. Why now with the release of this product, and how is it being received?
I can tell you the secret, and hopefully my executives don't get too mad, but I don't give this away. We listen to users. Our users are telling us, in fact, before we even had this agreement, we had so many, dozens and dozens of joint customers, and we were asking them, and they said, hey, this is what we use. This is who we found successful. Even our own customer internally, we called them Customer Zero, our InfoSec team, who has a massive remit to protect all of our customers, did a bake-off against all the automation vendors they can get their hands on, and Tynes is who they landed on. Because it was able to do more than just the classical SOAR stuff. They could automate anything they needed, from building out reports, from pulling out GitHub information when they made a commit, all kinds of things that they wanted to just make faster and simpler for their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think both Tynes and Elastic are very much customer-driven development teams. And so for us, we just saw that consistently the first thing that people would do when they were integrating Tynes was go connect their Elastic stack. Yeah. And as our team started talking, we realized we think about customers in very similar ways. We think about solving problems for them in similar ways. And everyone seems to want to use the tools together. We might as well make it easy.
Exactly.
Well, you both talk about listening to the customers. I got to ask you, what are the best use cases you've heard about so far across industries?
I'll tell you a wild one, then you can go. I remember we did we have these events we call Elasticon events, our user events. Yeah. When Tynes joined us, and we had one of our users, one of our most prolific users of the joint systems over at Texas A&M University, brought up a story, which is sort of the workflows that you use in Tynes. And I think it might have, I don't even know how many nodes it had maybe a couple hundred. It did so many things, and he actually automated basically an entire process end to end of, checking for, who is, looking up if it's malicious, getting additional data, then reaching out to other systems and building out an entire report. It was pretty amazing. He could go from sort of end to end in a couple seconds. And the reason they do that is because they have a student SOC program where basically these experts are building out these key stories, and then they have students that are coming in, educating them in both cybersecurity and in the broader university. And now they can just hand the stories to them and say, hey, here's a learning. You can go through this. It'll do the job for you, but also you can go step by step and learn why it's doing it. So it's sort of the train the trainer mentality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love our friends at Texas A&M. You took the story right out of my mouth. But, what they told us was they saved something like 300 hours a month by integrating Tynes and Elastic. And the question for teams is always, if you had an additional 300 hours a month, what would you do with that time? Mm-hmm. I guarantee you it's not just ticking boxes in a queue of tickets, right? You're going to go do some creative stuff.
Yeah.
So let me ask you to take a step back and talk about why Elastic and Tynes. What's at the heart of this partnership and what makes you so simpatico?
Yeah, it goes back to me to what we said earlier. It's the relentless passion for users and the mission. We're a very mission-driven company. We do all weekend to make our users successful. That's sort of the daily remit. We're in Slack with our customers. We're looking at GitHub comments from customers and Discuss. all we do is talk to users, and just we found a very like mind in Tines. And like I said, we first met them from our customers, right? Our customers were saying, hey, here's who we're using. Can you talk to them and sort of help us and build some more default stories? In fact, we have a great library now that we have of the operations you can perform with us and Tines that are available for customers and users. And I think that kind of relentless care about the users being successful, I think is really what led us to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think if I was to boil it down to one word, it would be that both Tines and Elastic are excellent at normalization. Data comes from all these different sources and looks different across, endpoints versus servers versus all these different things. If you're trying to connect to APIs, every API looks a little different. And for security and IT teams, that context switching between systems, it's just cognitive overhead, even if you're a seasoned professional, right? And so for us, being able to say, look, the data, it's all searchable in a very, very similar way, right? These APIs that you're automating, now it all looks very similar through Tines. It just takes that cognitive burden off. And so I think that's one of the real benefits that we see our customers taking advantage of.
Now, one thing that's interesting is I've had people parading in and out of the studio all week talking about the virtues of platformization. You folks are behind the best of breed bandwagon. How come?
I think platform is you can consider it an overloaded term at this point. I think it depends on the vendor you're talking to. We would consider what we have a platform, but I think agnosticism is really the key.
Yeah.
When you're a platform where only your solution works best and you can't plug into others, then it's not really truly what I would consider to be a platform. Platform to me is a solution you can put in place that solves numerous challenges, but is agnostic to the systems that you're operating in. I think back to what Matt was just saying a minute ago. This whole point of the fact that really everything we're doing is a data challenge. We're exponentially increasing amounts of data. You have to access all these different systems of data. And we're hiring these experts, but we're spending their time doing things like data wrangling or API management when they should be analyzing and finding if there's threats, making business or mission decisions. And the agnosticism of our platform, combined with their platform, allows those users to just make those core decisions, spend their time where it's best spent, which is determining, does this impact me? How do I fix it? How do I clean it up? Not, oh, I forgot to put this variable in place, or I forgot that there's a tilde over here, and then messing up the end results.
Yeah, I think the platform versus best of breed debate is almost falsely presented as a binary choice. And the reality is it's a bit of a sliding spectrum.
Yeah.
And so for us, I think, if you only have one platform, you're going to find that pretty consistently, it's just not going to have the features that you want, right?
Yeah.
If you're trying to do one platform for all of cybersecurity. But if you have 1,000 best of breed tools, you're not going to be able to take advantage of all of them. And so we sort of look at if in healthcare, it's nice sometimes if your primary care physician is part of a healthcare system, but I don't want that person changing the oil on my car, right? So there is definitely a balance. And so we think, for Elastic being sort of the data platform, for us, being the integration and orchestration platform, it's a nice balance between being able to be flexible with your tooling, flexible with what you integrate, but also, again, not trying to handle a scattered ecosystem of 1,000 different tools.
Right.
Since you introduced the term orchestration,
There we go.
as you look ahead, how do you see the future of SIEM and SOAR unfolding and continuing to evolve?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting right now where we're seeing folks learn that they have more and more options for decoupling some of the bits and pieces, right, and getting real flexible with things like data storage, and the things that Elastic offers around those fronts. And then also, I think the future of SOAR is integrating beyond the SOC. So many security teams are not just thinking about incidents, they're also thinking about vulnerability management. They're thinking about GRC. They're thinking about all these use cases that cybersecurity teams broadly have to do, but have been sort of neglected from the automation and orchestration stack. And so seeing all these teams collaborate more closely, using the fact that their data is all in one place and their orchestration platform is now useful across non-SOC use cases, I think we're going to see some really exciting collaboration.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think those, for me, SIEM and SOAR, they're just more four-letter words. Right? We tend not to use them. I think give us is, pretty broad data analytics and then workflow orchestration. I think one more syllables, I guess, is better. But the reality is that, there is no sort of security-centric data set anymore or security-centric use cases. When a problem arises and they point to the SOC to help, they don't care if, actually, this Log4j problem, I needed some information that's typically like an IT operations data, they don't care. They want to know the answer. So this ability to take all of the information from an organization, whether they might be firewall configuration data or application information, and then be able to orchestrate that from things like, is this have a vulnerable class, for example? That has to be in the remit of whoever is there to protect and reduce the risk of the organization, which happens to be the SOC. But this idea that there's some kind of secret of data, some sort of a well of information that only they have, I think needs to be eliminated.
No, well said. Mike, Matt, thanks so much for taking time to share your insights. We're grateful.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for having us.
Once again, for Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you so much for your time and attention today.